What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Too Good for Theaters video. Are you on the Sixers playoff bandwagon, or are you on the Tankathon bandwagon? That is the question that the Sixers have to answer in these upcoming games before the NBA trade deadline. And in this video, we're going to be breaking down my thoughts on the matter. So let's get right into it. After losing 7 in a row, the Sixers have come off and rattled 4 straight victories, including 2 victories on the second night of a back-to-back during this 4-game stretch here, and a ton of that credit has to go to Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey has been on an absolute heater. At this point, I think it's actually 10 or 11 straight games where he's had 25-plus points, and that is actually the longest stretch of his career. And it seems like Tyrese Maxey is getting back to the player that he has been these past couple seasons. It's really been a streaky season for him thus far, especially from 3, but as of late, he's been knocking down his shots. I do feel like he has been attacking the basket much better. Earlier on in the season, he was smoking a lot of layups, which is something that we really just haven't seen from him thus far. He is one of the best finishing packages from a point guard in this league, especially from a smaller guard like himself. But Tyrese Maxey really has taken that step of becoming that consistent scorer for this team. And when Paul George and Joel Embiid have not been playing, Tyrese Maxey takes the mantle and absolutely runs with it. And especially, it's pretty impressive given the fact that he's gone with different lineups every single night. I believe the Sixers have actually led the NBA in 28 different starting lineups, and I believe they trotted out a new one last night, or it might have been their second time in trotting out that lineup. Not necessarily sure. It might have been the same one against the Lakers with the Kings or not, but I digress. Tyrese Maxey has been absolutely lights out these last couple games, and it was interesting really to see last night, especially against the Kings, how the Kings just absolutely tried to take the ball out of his hands early on in that game, absolutely blitzing him on every pick and roll. He did a real nice job of making that kind of hockey assist pass to guys on the wing who were then able to attack the basket, either dump it off or maybe hit a floater. And that was a very successful play that the Sixers actually ended up having, especially when the Kings went to that zone. And at the beginning of the third quarter, when the Kings went to that zone, they absolutely had a massive run. I believe it was 26-4 run or something like that along those lines. But real nice job by Nick Nurse identifying what was going on with that zone. And he actually made a lineup change where he put 3 guards on the floor. You had Tyrese Maxey, you had Reggie Jackson, and then I believe you had Kyle Lowry as well. And then I believe the other 2 who were playing with that was Kelly Oubre and Ricky Council. And that was a lineup that I believe actually got the Sixers back into that game. And when the Sixers went on that run, they never let really turn back around. And it was really impressive to see the undermanned Sixers kind of come out and have that run against the Kings, especially on the second night of a back-to-back. Never really saw the fatigue that you might think on the second night of a back-to-back that might end up coming into play there. But real nice job by Nick Nurse identifying that. And he might not be having the greatest season as a head coach as of right now, but hopefully he's getting these guys to kind of turn the ship around, especially after all the reports of him losing his shit after the Denver game. Maybe it kind of woke this team up and he got a little bit of reinforcement from Tyrese Maxey, showing that he really is this team's leader at this point. And hopefully this team, over these next 4 games, I believe they got the Celtics, the Mavericks, the Heat, and of course they got the Nuggets coming in on Friday. Maybe you got Joel Embiid back for that game. Maybe you could have him match Nikola Jokic a little bit and hope that the rest of your team can kind of make up the difference right there. But this is going to be a crucial stretch, especially when the trade deadline is approaching. But I really just wanted to kind of call out Tyrese Maxey's play. He really has been God-sent over this past couple stretch, and he really has somewhat, quote-unquote, saved the franchise with hitting on that pick from Daryl Morey. But Tyrese Maxey just continues to play well, and he should certainly be in the All-Star game this season. I understand that he's had himself an up-and-down season, but over the past 15 games, Tyrese Maxey has been playing his best ball of the season, really when the Sixers have needed him to. Of course, Joel Embiid being out and Paul George having some minor injuries every now and then. So Tyrese Maxey really has upped his play of late, and he should certainly be representing the Sixers in the All-Star game. Just wanted to give a shout-out to some of the guys on the rest of the roster here. Quick shout-out to Kelly Oubre, just doing Kelly Oubre things. You see him attacking downhill, putting some pressure on the back end of the defenses. 3-point shooting is going to come and go with Kelly Oubre. not an elite shooter by any means, but when he's knocking down some threes, he becomes one of the more difficult role players to stop in this league, especially when he's starting to heat up. He's just playing good perimeter defense. I believe he's actually top 5 in the league in deflections this season. He's been coming up with a ton of steals and making a ton of energy plays. Especially, I remember in that Phoenix Suns game, the Sixers actually ended up losing that game, but there was a stretch where Kelly Oubre, I believe, had like 3 and 1 opportunities in the third quarter, and just his ability to really get in and kind of disrupt some perimeter guards plays with his size really has helped the Sixers out from a defensive standpoint this season. And then moving over to guys like Justin Edwards, who stepped up, obviously he was a minimum signing, or no, he was a two-way player who I believe should actually end up be getting an NBA standard contract after this trade deadline. But Justin Edwards is just making plays. He's had that quick trigger release on those three-point shots, and he's been actually knocking down a couple, so that's been very nice to see. Not an elite defender by any means, but just another body you could throw out there. And he hasn't been terrible defensively, and especially from a rookie standpoint, he's not the best athlete, so it's an encouraging sign to really see him kind of holding up from the defensive end. But Justin Edwards has just been making plays. That little pull-up mid-range game he has is actually something that I really did not see coming from him, but if he's knocking down threes, he's certainly going to be able to kind of stay in this rotation. And I believe Nick Nurse actually made a comment saying that even when PG and Caleb Martin return, Justin Edwards should be able to solidify himself a rotation spot with this team just based off of how he's playing. But moving on from Justin Edwards to another guy, that being Ricky Council. You talk about an erratic player. When he gets a defensive rebound and he just absolutely takes off, my heart drops. But he's actually been converting a lot in those scenarios, and he really is just a supreme athlete in this league. If he's ever able to hit NBA threes consistently, he's going to be a player in this league. But, he's been playing some solid defense. There are times off ball where he simply just does not pay attention, or he frankly is just not communicating with the fellow defenders on the floor. But when Ricky Council has been effective this year, it's been playing downhill, getting the balls in transition and really being able to convert about the rim. And I don't know why he loves that step back three-pointer from damn near 30 feet, especially on the wings. That's it's like one of his shots that he's actually able to consistently hit, which is surprising just based off the fact that really he's not known for much of a shooter. But it was an encouraging sign. I believe he actually hit a regular catch and shoot 3 against the Kings last night, and I believe he actually hit a couple against the Lakers there. So as he continues to be in the gym, maybe he can up those kind of 3-point percentages, especially get some more familiarity with just standard NBA catch and shoot threes. He's certainly going to be someone who can help out this rotation with his athleticism and just really being another body to throw in on the defensive end there. And speaking of someone who's been absolutely shooting the lights out, Eric Gordon, I believe, has actually been shooting over 50% from 3 in this past 10 games. And this was something that you expected when the Sixers signed Eric Gordon. I don't know what was good with his wisdom teeth or something like that. Maybe it actually just affected him from any area of his body. But when he has returned from that surgery, he has absolutely been shooting the lights out. And it's significant because the volume of 3-point shots that he takes, as well as where he's taking them from. When you had to guard someone damn near at the hash marks and damn near from the logo at times, it really does expand the defense. And that's something that Eric Gordon has taken advantage of with his time here over the Sixers, especially of late. He's not the quick trigger 3-point shooter, but since he loads up slower, he does actually have to expand his range so guys aren't able to close out on his shot as quickly. And when he's been knocking down these shots, he's shown the ability to attack off the dribble. That's something that I frankly did not expect to see from Eric Gordon, especially at his age in this time. But I think that Eric Gordon of late has been really, really good. Of course, a lot of that is attributed to his lights-out 3-point shooting. And honestly, his off-ball defense is not the best, and he really hasn't been a great defender this season. But there are times where he does take on a defensive matchup. He actually did a pretty solid job against LeBron, against the Lakers there, held his own. But if he just continues to knock down shots, he's going to be very impactful for this team if he has not ended up being traded by the Sixers team here. But either way, him hitting shots is going to be beneficial because the Sixers are either going to get something back for him or he's going to be attributing to the success of the Sixers from an offensive standpoint. And lastly here, kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Adem Bona, the rookie coming off the bench, second-round pick. He really just has been playing his role. He's going to foul, but he really does supply somewhat of rim protection just because of his athleticism. He's a little undersized, not the best rebounder, but he's just doing a great job. He's playing his role. He's rolling to the basket. Guys may not hit him, but he's doing a nice job setting screens, rolling to the basket, done a real nice job of rim protection, and he has done a pretty solid job in terms of rebounding for being as undersized as he is. But it's just encouraging to see that the Sixers really did have themselves a very good draft class this season. And the more I see of Adem Bona, the more minutes I kind of want him to play. And I'm not going to lie, I'm all for playing Adem Bona over Andre Drummond at this point. I don't know if Andre Drummond it's just been that lingering issue with that injury, but he really does not look like the same rebounder that he has been in years past, and I'm all for Adem Bona kind of taking over those backup 5 minutes once Joel Embiid returns to that lineup. So lastly here, I wanted to talk more so about the upcoming trade deadline. And in my personal opinion, if I were the Sixers, honestly, I'm staying put right now, or I'm trading for a player who has multiple years on their contract who can gel with this core that you have. And there's going to be some expiring contracts on this team, guys like Kelly Oubre and Gershon Yabusele, who's been absolutely great for you this season. Someone who really has been an unsung hero for the Sixers team. He clearly loves it in Philly. The Philly fans clearly love him showing up to the Eagles game and stuff like that. But he has just played so well this season. He's been the model of consistency for you. He brings that low post kind of threat from a role player that you really just frankly do not see whatsoever in this league anymore, especially from a role player. He's been knocking down his threes at a rate much higher than I thought he was going to be. I believe he's actually around 40% from three. And, he just adds energy. He's just a good locker room guy. Guys clearly love playing with him. He brings that intensity, and that's why he's such a favorite here in Philly. And then there's, of course, Kelly Oubre having that player option. But are you sure you're going to be able to retain both those guys? I know there are salary cap rules that the Sixers can only offer Yabusele so much money next year if he were to return, based off him being a minimum signing this season. So if you're Daryl Morey, are you saying, hey, this is clearly a lost season. Maybe you try and get some draft compensation for those guys like Gershon Yabusele as well as Kelly Oubre. I believe both of those guys can probably garner you some multiple second-round picks, and that would be nice because the Sixers would actually be able to jump into the draft this season. Assuming that they do not get a top 6 pick, I'm going to assume that pick kind of conveys over to the Thunder because the Sixers are more so going to try to be winning more than any of the teams in the bottom right now, as well as, other teams are just worse than you. The Sixers have too much talent to tank that badly. So it's going to be interesting to see what Daryl Morey kind of approaches this trade deadline. And me personally, I'm in favor of kind of staying put, just riding out the ship, hoping that this team can gel. Maybe you have better injury luck in the second half of or at least post-trade deadline of the season. So, and there's going to be some guys who, maybe Eric Gordon, you can, ship out for a second-round pick, but with how well he's been playing of late, especially, and that's without Embiid on the floor. I think with Embiid, the amount of open looks that Eric Gordon can possibly garner is going to be absolutely lethal, and if he's shooting the way that he has shot these past couple of games, you add Joel Embiid and Paul George back into the equation, he becomes someone you cannot, you can't have off the floor just because of his shooting gravity, and he's going to be able to help them get much easier shots. And, this is going to be an interesting stretch for the Sixers in this next couple games here, and Daryl Morey certainly has his work cut out for him, but like I said before, I'm just with riding out this season with the group of guys you have. Hope you have some better luck in terms of the injury status, but these next 4 games are going to be crucial for the Sixers. Alright everyone, that's going to wrap up this video. Sorry for my lack of Sixers content. I was really focused on getting everything done with the Patriots in this offseason, but with the trade deadline approaching, I'm hoping to actually make some potential trade candidate listings here on some outside targets that the Sixers might choose to inquire at the trade deadline here. But looking forward to the second half of this season. Going to be making some more Sixers content for you. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below of what the Sixers should do of this ever-looming trade deadline. And once again, thank you so much for watching.